talking of Doctor Who, me and Gary both watched it on Saturday night. Gary will lead us through because he's the big Doctor Who fan. I watch it sort of sporadically. I sort of dropped off around the sort of Robin Hood episode with Maisie Williams.
Oh, yeah. This was as close as you're going to get to a reset episode for a series that's a long way in. Basically, the Doctor, following the adventures that he had in the last series, seems to have taken up a residency in a university. Not really sure what he's teaching. Time, it appears. And Pearl.
Well, she did say she did bring up the fact that you've been.
He doesn't stick to the topic, does he?
Yeah. You've been brought in to talk about, like, you assume it's some sort of science, particle physics, or something like that.
Yeah. And Bill was a canteen worker. She served the chips. What they did very carefully in this episode was, for the time of day that it was shown, they were very clear that Bill was a lesbian, but they never mentioned the word lesbian, and they never did anything that would endanger the BBC.
Can I ask you a question on this? Because you mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
Luke, I will be careful. Why do you think there is an issue with kids watching and dealing with homosexuality? Why is that? Why are those two things? Why should there be an issue?
Because I think it's whether Doctor Who is the right way to do it. Okay. Doctor Who is a science fiction show. There could be an argument, and I've read this elsewhere, that says that if you're in a world of unreality, is that the right method to bring in something that as important as that? In other words, shouldn't you be doing that in a more dramatic method where you can say about the issues, the consequences, the decisions? Whereas in Doctor Who, a lot of your decisions, consequences are, oh, well, it's a wibbly-wobbly thing in space.
Should it not just be a normal thing in 2017? Why should it be a big deal that she is a lesbian to begin with? Why can't she just be a woman who is gay? I know that
I think because it's
I think that's what they were going. Yeah. I think that's what they were going for. That it was just
right.
presented
and I personally think they dealt with it very well.
Yeah, but that's how they should have dealt with it.
Don't get me confused. You're not going to get a lesbian kiss in Doctor Who in 2017.
No, but
on the BBC at 7 o'clock at night.
What I'm saying is that's how they should have dealt with it, because it shouldn't be a big thing. It should just be she's a young girl who is a lesbian, and that's how I think they dealt with it, and that's how it should be. She's just a character who. And I mean, you had John Barrowman before, and his character was gay.
Oh, absolutely, but that was born out of Torchwood, which
it's the other way round.
He came first.
Well, yeah, but I don't know how much of an ambiguous character he was in Doctor Who. I can't remember, so I can't.
It's John Barrowman.
Yes, I know.
John Barrowman doesn't do ambiguous.
Anyway, the plot of the first episode was that Bill was struggling to make friends. And was drawn to this one particular girl, and this girl sort of rather surprisingly just sort of took her to an area in the university where she'd found this puddle. Now what was weird was that it hadn't been raining, and there was just this kind of big black kind of sort of puddle in the middle of a playground, and she kept saying, if you look in, you don't see yourself, you don't see your face. She was affected by the puddle. Bill was kind of intrigued, but this girl was affected by the puddle. As you say, she had something wrong with her eye. I don't know whether that was something after she'd looked in the puddle or before the puddle.
Ocular degeneration or something
that meant she had
like a star in her eye.
So Bill went to the doctor. The doctor analysed what was going on, and it's straight into the TARDIS and straight to various points in time and history. And I think Bill, out of the most recent assistants that I can remember, seemed to deal with this the most calmly.
What you didn't mention is that Matt Lucas is still tagging along as well.
Oh yeah, well he was a bit part in this one.
Yeah,
so
but he came with them, didn't he? And he was doing the whole, here we go, it's happening now. You know, she's twigging. He was almost like our proxy in this episode.
A little bit. I did like the toilet joke as well. I wouldn't go in there for a few bits. I did like that. I thought that was quite humorous. And eventually, it was because Bill had said the lines that, I'd like to get together with you later or see you again, that this alien was following her. And they went, to Australia. They went forward in time. They went back in time to try and find out where, how quickly they were following. Overall, I think the writing was crisp. I thought it was good. I have got some comments. So thank you very much for Pablo Bonzo, who's commented. He comes to us via the Food to Watch Films By podcast, which you can find on iTunes. He said, really liked the pilot. Seems like they were trying to win back some old fans and bring in some new ones, which I agree with. And he also said that he thought Who was starting to get was starting to get lost in being self-referential. Now, I think that might relate back to some of the things about Stephen Moffat and his other work in Sherlock, where we all agreed that was becoming self-referential. There's always a danger of that with Doctor Who, I think, because there is such a big, pun not intended, universe to go with. So I think, I think that's important.
I have to say I was a little bit bored by it.
Okay.
Wasn't really invested in it all that much. I liked Pearl Mackie. I thought she did. She was a sort of breath of fresh air. Unfortunately, I've not really warmed to Capaldi much. I thought he and Jenna Coleman were good together. The last 2 Christmas specials I've watched, I thought they were all right. We didn't like the last Christmas special at all.
No.
And I was just a bit bored, but I was doing other things. I mean, I turned over when it was on. I started watching it on the telly with my mum, who'd fallen asleep at the time. When she woke up, we decided to turn it over and watch Take Me Out for a bit before Britain's Got Talent started. And then I caught the rest of it on the iPlayer. We should discuss the rumour that Kris Marshall, it looks like he might be
there's been a lot of rumours. Kris Marshall, I'd give him a chance, but I don't know. I feel we're going to get a younger Doctor. Because I think when you're going to start, and obviously we don't know whether Pearl Mackie is sticking around, so we don't know if we're going to get.
Gary, Kris Marshall's your age. Would you see?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's certainly younger than Peter Capaldi.
Yeah,
and
he's not as young.
He's younger looking than me.
Everybody, why are we talking about you so much, for God's sake?
Well,
okay.
Matt mentioned it, not me.
Doctor Luke, would there be anyone who'd get you watching Doctor Who?
No, I mean, even listening to you describe it, it's hard for me to stay
Maybe
awake.
Chris Chibnall should be the next Doctor Who. Then he can just write for himself. No?